Welcome to my channel, The Business Building Diva, with me, Natasha James, better known as the CEO Speaks. I was at a place, my business was about 4.5 years old. I've never built a business that I actually worked in. And I have learned so many lessons over these past 10 years. It's crazy. And I want to tell you that, sometimes I'd be like, God, I don't want to learn any more lessons. But you know what what I've come to realize is that God told me a long time ago that he'd be my teacher. I am a first generation graduate of undergrad. I am a first generation with a master's degree. I am a first generation entrepreneur. I am a first generation 7-figure business. I am breaking generational curses and chains every freaking day. Listen, I have 3 businesses, and not including the CEO Speaks. The CEO Speaks is just me and my business coaching, but the other 3 operate with a full team of people that actually manages it. So, and it's tough. It's really tough. My husband and I own one of those businesses, and the other 2 are mine. And you think about all of the things that you go through when you are a new startup. You want everything to be perfect. You want to treat people the way you want to be treated. You want to put things in place. I'm not going to lie. As a business owner, I didn't have a structure. Growing up, the Cosbys was my ideal family. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, those 2 shows, I kind of mimicked my life around them. I wanted my life to look like their life in a sense. Not me be a lawyer, not me be a doctor or anything like that. I have 4 kids. I wanted to have a family lifestyle, a 2-family, mom, father, both of us working and living life the way they did. And that's why my husband and I have businesses. I mean, it wasn't planned originally because I did go to school to do what I do, and at the end of the day my goal was to become a professional in my trade, but God had other plans. And I think that all of the things, remember those senior books that we used to get in high school? I can literally sit here and go back. If I was at home, I would break the page out and show you guys how I have manifested my life. It is not an exact replica of what my manifestation was, but it's close. And when I say close, I am living out that manifestation. So when I say write it down, I mean write it down. And I'm still living in that manifestation because I believe in writing things down. But my life, my business, when I started my businesses, my goal is to operate like big business. Like I never have a mindset of a little business. I don't have a little business. You might call it a little business, but my little business is not a little business. It's a big business in my head because it's my big business, and it has always been my big business. But I do remind myself all the time that what I've created, or what God has allowed me to create, is something that he has blessed me with. And because he has blessed me with it, there's blessings attached to it. So when I think about all of my employees and all of the things that I have to do, why it's important for me to show up, why it's important for me to go after the things that I need to do, it's because if I don't, somebody up under me is going to miss their blessing. And I take that serious because in 2018, when I tell you that was the hardest time in my life, I went through a flood in 2016 where my house was flooded. We had to live with that house gutted from front to back. And when I say my husband and I were on spider watch, we were on spider watch because the spiders were so big and they was coming in. I have 4 kids. I didn't want my kids to get bit by no spider. When I say we are terrified of spiders because we've seen all kinds of spiders. I thought roaches was bad. Girl, no, we were on the floor. We had air mattresses. We couldn't go and get a hotel. So let's talk about that. Don't think that we was just living in the house because we didn't have any money to do anything. But in that situation, there was a lot of families that didn't have any money, even if they could go and get a hotel. But the hotels were all sold out. FEMA had taken over all of the hotels, and people were put in those hotels that actually could not live in their homes. So we had to tough it out, suck it up, and stay in our house. And we had to live in our house throughout the remodeling. So that I thought was going to be the hardest thing of my life. But my God, no, it was my business. When I almost lost all of my business, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about it. But when I say, when you don't have a security blanket up under you and you can't call and say, can you help me pay my $500 light bill, because your light bill is way more than that. Or when people don't understand the dynamics behind how much money you spend a month in bills, and you don't know where that money is going to come from. And all you know is that you have to keep going. All you know is that you have 4 kids that have to eat. You have 4. I had one child in college too that we paid tuition at 100%. No scholarships, no financial aid, because we didn't qualify for it. My son didn't apply for scholarships, and I wish he had. But he was getting to a point of graduation. So it was, what are we doing? How are we moving? When I say sleepless nights, tearful nights, it was traumatic. It was so traumatic. I don't even know how to explain how traumatic it was, from the events that led up to me almost losing everything, me not knowing how I was going to make it from day to day. But what I can say is that God is faithful. And when he told me that he was going to be my teacher, I did not realize how much of a teacher he would be. My God. And when I say I write down everything, I literally write down everything. On my Facebook page that particular year prior to, I put in my hashtags that my word for the year, I'm big on words for the year. My God, y'all. I'm going to have a word for the year. My words with an S this year is intentional and abundance. So that word for that year was uncomfortable. Not really knowing that I was about to make myself real uncomfortable. And when I say I was so uncomfortable, I didn't know whether I was coming or going. But God showed me that he is a provider. He had been pulling me closer to him since my early 30s. My mom died when I was like 29. He had been tugging on me for a while. And at that, when I almost lost everything, I had just turned 40, and I was all excited about my 40th birthday. I celebrated big. I traveled the world. I went everywhere. I mean, I still travel a lot, but I was gone every month. My husband and I was gone. If we could be gone every weekend, we were going. I celebrated my birthday big that year. And I took from that is God saying, I've allowed you to get all of that out of your system. I let you shop till your heart was content. I let you have all of the things that you felt like you needed and wanted. You bought shoes, you bought bags, you bought clothes, you took care of everybody. You put your kids in private school. You got your son in college. You helped your husband start another business. You did all of the things. Okay, you did everything. I let you celebrated your 40th birthday big. So now I need you to come and celebrate me. That's what I took from that. He was telling me, you did all of that stuff. You had your fun. Now come on over here and celebrate me, because you lost focus and I need to get you back on track. So in that time frame, he told me, he was like, it's going to look bad. All of the things that's happening around you, it's going to look like the walls are just coming down on top of you. And you're going to feel a lot of emotions, but those emotions are going to be fine. But what I need for you to understand is, in order for you to understand what's going on in your life, you have to find me. You have to seek my face. You have to get to know my word. You need to know who I am and why I've done the things that I've allowed you to do. I've given you something. Now I want something in return, and it's you. My God. It was an eye opener. It was so emotional. I don't know what to do. I ain't never know what to do. That's why I didn't answer the call. I grew up Methodist, and in that time frame, I felt like I was just going to church because that was the thing to do. I go to church, pay my tithes. I never really understood how to read the Bible, so I didn't read the Bible. I heard the Bible verses. I saw the Bible verses, but they meant nothing to me. And when the old people say, just keep living, Those words are to die for, okay? Yes, they are, because that's when life happens, and that's when you start to realize that prayer do work. You do need to pray. You do need to know the Bible. You do need to know what scripture says. You do need to go to church. You do need to be in the midst of the congregation and not at home looking at church on TV. You do need all of those things that people talk about that we don't understand. Child, pray for me for what? Because I don't want you praying for me. The devil is a lie. I do. Because when I can't pray for myself, I need somebody that got a spiritual connection with God that can come in and intervene for me. That's what I learned in that time. I learned that I needed to be in that place. And that place is where I grew. My pastor, I'm a big Sarah Jakes fan, and y'all, I'm not gonna stop this video because I don't usually get emotional, but when God is in the midst of something, He is in the midst of it, and when He take control, I'm just gonna let Him take control. I just let Him have it. I'm a big Sarah Jakes fan. I'm a big TD Jakes fan, and I love my pastor, because they help me understand what I am reading. They help me to understand what the scripture means. They help me to understand how to apply the scripture to what's happening in my life right now in this moment. It helps me to make it to from one day to the next. When the pastor say you need to be in Bible study, yeah, you do. Because see, at that time, I needed to be in Bible study. I needed to be in children's ministry. I needed to be in adult ministry. I needed to be at Sunday school. I needed to be at church. I needed to be volunteering in the kitchen. I needed to be at church all the time. Why? Because I was weak. I was so weak in that space where I really just had to. I didn't have nowhere else to turn. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. And my husband would just say, "It's gonna be okay." But at that time, my husband really didn't have an idea the losses that was happening. I mean, we still live a regular life, but our life ain't regular. And it's not regular by any means. Our bills are not regular. The things we do is not regular. The places we go is not regular. The cars we drive are not regular. Nothing is regular about our lives. We keep it to a minimum, but it's not everyday minimum. And so at that rate, when he tell me it's gonna be okay, I just turn over and start crying some more, because in my mind I'm like, you don't even know what you're talking about now. And then something said, "Look, go on YouTube." And I was looking for something soothing that would help me go to sleep, because I'd be crying so much and I just wanted to go to sleep. I'd be up all night crying. And I came across this app on YouTube that it's the Book of Psalms. And the Book of Psalms, from all the way from the first Psalm to the last Psalm, there's this guy with this very soothing voice. He just reads the Book of Psalms to you all throughout, and he go from one book to the next. That's what put me to sleep, and it was so soothing. And then it was in that moment that I realized that God was directing me. He was guiding me. He was guiding me to scripture. He was teaching me how to pray. He was allowing me to understand His promises. He was showing me how all of this stuff in the Bible, literally, I was living it in real time. That was the scariest, most amazing part of that journey that I took from that. And ironically, as I got closer and closer to God, and I started to understand those scriptures, I was able to start the healing process. I was able to keep going. I was able to get up and do the things that I needed to do without feeling overwhelmed and angry. When I say He sent people to me that knew I needed it, but didn't ask me if I needed help, they just did stuff. It's crazy. I mean, people would be giving me money, and I'm not talking about no little money. I'm talking about thousands of dollars in money, because they knew I needed money. And my kids are very athletic. I had people taking my kids because they knew that my husband and I was working a lot. They didn't know why, but they knew we was working. And if they didn't step in and ask us if we can let our kids go with them, it was people that I trusted, but I still was a little apprehensive. But because I knew that I couldn't do it, I had to allow them to go. I didn't have to, but I didn't want my kids to feel the wrath of what was going on in our lives. So I allowed it. And in that season, it was like God was telling me, you're not in a season of no. I'm allowing you to reap the harvest of all the seeds that you've sown because I told you to do that. I told you to do a lot of things. And I wanted to, and they say he gives you a little to see how you do with the little so that you can get the lot. Well, I'm not good at these Bible verses. I'm still learning, y'all. So I'm not gonna sit here and start quoting scriptures because I know them, but I don't know them by heart. But what I am gonna say is that those things he allowed me to see, and it was in that time that he allowed me to show up, keep going, and allow people into my life that he sent. Because you do know that when people offer you stuff, that it's not you that's supposed to be getting a blessing, it's them. And if you don't take or do whatever God is sending them to allow them to do, you're cutting their blessings. That was something else that I had to learn, because I'm big on telling people, I don't need it. No, I got it. Girl, we good. Starving to death. I would not take it. But in that season, I could not say no. I couldn't say no because it wasn't just about me. It was my whole family. It was my business. It was the people that work for me. It was a whole lot of people that if I said no, I would be hurting. So I had to keep going. And I kept going. And in the midst of all of that, he allowed me to get up, pick up the pieces, and he allowed me to rebuild bigger and better than I had before. He put me in rooms that I can't even explain. He helped me overcome imposter syndrome. He helped me to see who I am as a person, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a mother, as a wife, as a sister, as a sister, a cousin, niece, or whatever. He allowed me to see people for who they were. And he allowed me to make the decision as to whether or not I want to be in a space where I'm not celebrated. And I had to come to a conclusion that, you know what, my peace is worth everything. So I'm either going to be celebrated or I'm not going to be tolerated in this season. But what I am going to do is I'm going to continue to follow what God and let God order my steps and do the things that he tells me to do on a day-to-day basis. If it's not coming from him, I don't want to hear it. And I find myself in a space at times where I don't hear him. And I have to stop in dead center in my footsteps and say, you know what, God, things are going too good. And I really, really, really need to hear your voice right now. And it don't come immediately, but it end up coming. And you just keep going until you hear it. So when I tell you that being an entrepreneur is not the easiest task in the world, it's hard work, but it's connected to spirituality too. Understanding provision, understanding if God brought you to it, he's going to bring you through it. And if he helped you to see the vision, and if he opened the door for you to be able to be this entrepreneur that you are, and you're going through some stuff and you are not connected to him, that may be the reason why. I'm going to not talk anymore because this is 20 minutes of a video and I did not expect it for it to be this long. So if this resonated with you, let me know if I need to do a part 2 because I still have a lot more to say. But leave a comment down in the comments below. Tell me what your hardships look like. Let's talk about it. Let's help each other get through these times, because I've come to the conclusion that I've been in a lot of programs, entrepreneur programs. And what we don't get is a community of people that's willing to help and support you through your journey. And we go through a lot of things on this entrepreneurial journey alone. And it's hard at the top, because a lot of times as you rise to the top, a lot of people around you start to fall off and you find your circle being a dot. And that's just the way it is. It ain't nothing you're going to do about changing it. Even when you find rooms where you can go into and you have like minds, They are loners. They are people that they know to rock by themselves, because at the end of the day, it's hard to trust people out here. So, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.